Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me for Cyber Monday coverage is Evan Clark, Deputy Managing Editor at WWD, which provides information and intelligence on changing trends in fashion and retail. Evan, it's great to see you as always for the holiday season. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Yes, thanks, Jill.
And this morning, the Wall Street Journal reported that consumers who went out on Black Friday made fewer stops and did more shopping at big box retailers. How did Black Friday play out overall relative to expectations?
Right. So I think expectations were muted going into the big kind of shopping day. The season had already started. Really, people really began shopping back in October. And it was always expected to be a very kind of digital holiday season. People did go out to stores. And as you said, I think a lot of people were sort of prioritizing it's like hitting the mission critical shops, and a lot of those shops that, like the Walmarts or the Targets where they've become comfortable with, that have been open throughout the pandemic. So we see that continue, but ultimately the action is really online this year.
What types of gifts and toys did well?
Well, I think it's in the fashion, and we've seen a continuation of the trends that we've seen all year. So the streetwear was popular coming into the pandemic. Sneakers still selling really well. It's also a great kind of at-home thing, and a lot of that, the leisure, sweatpants and stuff like that. You also, health and beauty is done well. You have to look good for these Zoom calls. So I think we've seen a lot of that kind of stuff. But for sure, Santa's going to come. There'll be toys under the tree. But this year, people might have to grab all of that stuff a little earlier because there's not as much inventory as there usually is in the system.
Well, of course, with everyone shopping online as well, you have to worry about shipping. That's going to be a concern also.
Right. The can the FedEx and DHL people kind of make it out to all of these stores? I mean, I think the sense that we get from the industry is that really the online delivery business is sort of somewhere around at capacity. There's always a big rush around the holiday season, but really this year they're doing what they can. So I think people who wait too long might find themselves inside in a physical store. So we'll see how that plays out. But this is, this whole switch to digital for both that we've seen from consumers and from retailers is something that we're going to be watching, well into 2021 and beyond and after the pandemic.
Do you think COVID-19 will have a positive impact on new online shoppers and being able to convert them?
Yeah, I think, it's hard to say anything positive around COVID, but that's, I do think that we are seeing that. I think e-commerce has sort of been steadily rising over a number of years. But there was a sort of a hardcore group of people who just was not, they didn't want to figure it out. They didn't want to get into e-commerce. They didn't want to kind of like get their heads around it. And really this forced them to. And I think as they kind of have awoken to a lot of the conveniences, a lot of the ease of, I can just I can wait 2 days. I'm stuck home all day anyway. I think that those people, the everything that we're learning now about e-commerce is going to, all that's going to be true beyond the pandemic too. So I think a lot of those shopping trips are going to be, not necessarily the staple kind of replenishment stuff, but, I think when we do get back out into the world, people are going to want to have fun shopping and do their fun shopping, not their kind of just like, oh, I need to pick up socks or paper towels or whatever.
Yeah, I remember, Evan, last year when we were speaking in December 2019, which of course is radically different than what we have this year.
A million years ago.
A million years ago. And one of the things I had asked you was, okay, we understand e-commerce is here to stay and it will gradually continue to grow as people become more comfortable with it, especially the digital natives that are old enough to do their own shopping now. But one of the questions I had asked you was, coming back into the mall, perhaps it would have been more of an experience versus a shopping type of trip. And I think that's going to be really super key, especially for the department stores who have fallen behind in inventory, who have fallen behind in their e-commerce strategy. But I think the experiential part of it is going to be huge to get people back.
Right. Yeah, that's, then all of last year, all anyone could talk about in retail was experience. And I have to give you a word I've heard not at all this year, but I think that's still there. And I think we're just breaking it out more of a lot of the things you want quick, the things you want easy, the stuff where you need, the oddball thing that maybe would be hard to find in a physical store. you can do that shopping online very easily and very quickly, and everyone's used to that now. So I think when people come back, and I think after this, everyone is going to be ready to run out and, you know, hang out in food courts and go shopping and just like be at the mall and surrounded by people, because we're all so starved for that kind of experience now. I think it's really going to be interesting to see, you know, retailers have been struggling just to survive really through this year. And now kind of layering on like next year, like, okay, how are you going to make it awesome when we're back in the store, and what's that like, and how's it fun, and how, you know, so we'll see. And I think a lot of we're going to see really experience in the stores and digital really define you know, separate the winners from the losers.
All right, Evan, great to catch up with you as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thanks so much, Jill.
You got it. And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.